struggling with the idea of just paying for the plane ticket back to New Orleans. It's a bit ironic, you get a one-way ticket, and they say, look, when everything is better, come on home, fix up your house, never mind the money, find the money, but yet you have to even pay for the ticket just to come back, and even that is difficult. So people aren't coming home for one reason, because it is a cost. I talked about the distance, but there's also once you get home. The houses that are there, and there are plenty of houses, some of them are no longer where they used to be, they're across the street. Yeah? I mean, that's the weirdest thing. You would occasionally meet someone, and you'd say, is this your house? And they'll say, well, yes, but that's my address. My house is over here across the street. And these houses need to be destroyed and then rebuilt. So those are two very big costs, right? And then the question becomes, well, where do you get money to do this? Now, what a lot of people are doing, including the very bloggers who are writing about the experience, they took their life savings, the money we saved for maybe our children, for maybe an emergency, I guess, whatever you were saving it for, this is now what you were saving it for, because they take their life savings and they rebuild the house. After that, no more life savings, but you have a house. That's the best they can do right now. But most people, remember that New Orleans has an extremely large, they were the majority, not anymore, poor black community, or middle-class black community as well. It was actually the largest home-owning black population in the United States. Largest home-owning black population in the United States. The most amount of, yeah. And that's something to really admire, in fact. I had the pleasure of meeting lots of people from what are known as black universities. Howard, for example. I met lots of people from Howard. And they said, I've never been here before, but I came down here because in my family, we talk about New Orleans like it's part of us. It's the music we love, it's our heritage. So I came down because I got to do something. But I'll get to those people in a moment as well, the people who come to help. So people aren't coming home. They don't have the life savings. There were no life savings. You survive from check to check, paycheck to paycheck. Now, you're not even getting that paycheck. Maybe you got a new job in Houston, but your check goes towards paying for your house in Houston, your apartment, and you still have your house that's been moved across the street by the storm in New Orleans, but you're not really sure how you're going to fix it. So you don't. Not now. You wait. One, house insurance, right? A lot of people did have house insurance. That covers, as far as I know, and I'm not an insurance expert, but I've learned from them, it covers fire, it covers some theft, and it covers a couple of little other issues that could happen to your house. In most of New Orleans, it does not cover, especially in the poorer sections, it doesn't cover floods, because that's not a flood zone. And who decides on zones? Government. So you can't get insurance money. They're trying. They just lost a big court case last week that said, sorry, your insurance doesn't cover that water that rose, so no money from insurance. And the judge even said something like, it would be an incredible cost to the insurance company, so we couldn't possibly have this. Because, the insurance company is, man, they just barely get by, And sarcasm is risky in foreign territories. Insurance companies are doing very, very well, right? They are. But part of the art of being an insurance company is insisting that you're not doing that well. You could have made a bunch of millions more that you didn't get to make. So they don't get the insurance money. There's only one other place you can look, unless you find money or win the lottery or steal. There's only one other place they're looking right now, and they're not getting it from there either, and that's the federal government, the Congress. The people that have a whole lot of money to wage war or to throw a big-ass party for other countries to come and have a conference, country presidents to come and have a G8 or whatever. Well, they don't pay for that, but anyway. They look to the federal government to help. I mean, this is the situation. Even if you don't like government, like a lot of people in the United States didn't used to like, when you're in big, big trouble and something like this, let's say it was the storm, but really it was the federal flood, you look to the government to provide aid. And the government said, we're going to provide aid. And they invented this thing called the road home that is the exact opposite of a road home. It was supposed to be money for everybody to come home. But it got tied up. It didn't get passed. It didn't happen. And then a couple of months ago, they wrote one of these brilliant bills in the United States Congress. It said, among other things, the following billions of dollars, and I cannot keep track of how many billions they're spending, are going to Iraq. On the same document, it said the minimum wage is going to go up, which is pretty cool. And then further down, among other things, there was a little extra money for some industry, and the Road Home program will finally get 70 million or something. All in the same bill, which is pretty unbelievable. So if you want to get money in New Orleans to rebuild your house, we also have to keep funding a war in Iraq. They're all tied together. I was amazed. A friend of mine who works in Congress, or he's a page, said, that's normal. And I thought, that's scary. So there's no money to come home. And so nobody's coming home. Only very few. As I drove the streets, it was like 1 out of every 20 houses. I'd see broken house, doors, things falling apart, tilted sideways. And then suddenly there's a guy washing his car in his brand newly refurbished house. And he's just looking at his neighbors and, well, there are none. And I wave. And he waves because at least I'm human. So besides my own work, which I've done and I put out, not enough. I put up a few podcasts, a few videos. It's not enough. But there are people that do this full-time. My favorite bloggers, full-time, every day. And they talk about these issues. They write about what they see, but also what they learn doing their own research, as I mentioned before. And while I was there, one of the things I noticed was housing projects. In this picture back here, I don't know how good this looks to you. I don't know either if I would really love to live there, but these were public housing units in New Orleans. And I didn't go to this one. I went to another one. And you would see them, they were in perfect condition. By perfect, I mean they were clean, the windows and the doors and everything was in the right place. And then there was a big fence around them. I should have used that photo. With a big sign that said, closed? Anyway. And I asked someone, I said, what's going on here with these houses? Were they damaged? Because I don't see it. And someone said, oh, you don't know? They're being destroyed because of Katrina. And I said, oh, so they must have been flooded. And he said, no water got here. And I said, so why are they destroying houses? Nobody lives there. No, people live there. They evacuated. When they come home, they weren't allowed back in. And I said, but that doesn't make any sense. Well, the city government sold the houses to, I don't want to accuse the Christians, a religious organization that has another plan for the property. And I thought, but that's public housing. The government isn't supposed to sell their people's houses if they're the poorest people too. You don't do that. I said, well, because of Katrina, they can. They said it was an emergency. It's a situation where one of the roof tiles flew off, so it got a little damaged. It's crazy, and it is sort of like, what? And I saw this over and over again. I saw 2 housing complexes, and I heard about more, and I've been reading about even more. So, again, somebody is benefiting. It's certainly not the people of the city. And, well, I'll move on. I talked about the insurance. That's over there. I do have a video about the experience of one of the video bloggers covered the housing thing where people came home and they couldn't get into their houses and they were giving speeches. I don't remember where I put it. It'll be in here somewhere. Here's one of the weirdest things that happened to me, and there were so many. I went to a legal clinic. The beauty is that this is just activists. People have moved from all over the United States, and the world for that matter, to New Orleans. People who had never been there before, much like myself. And they've quit whatever it is they do, their job. For the most part, they've quit college. That's the biggest thing. Universities. They've just left. I talked to a lot of people. I said, are you a student? And they said, well, I was, but then this happened. So I'm just going to put that aside, and I'm going to work here for the next few years until things are better. There was a lot of that. And I went to one place that was a legal clinic, and it was just law students who had left school and moved to New Orleans. They rented a house. They got some funding. And in this place, you can go and you can ask for information about what are my rights? Because some people can actually sue the people who built those ridiculous levees. Now, it's been said that you can't sue the Army Corps of Engineers, but they have figured out that you could sue them. And the point to doing that is, one, to actually get some acknowledgement of who did wrong, and two, to get some money to repair your house. So, of course, nobody can afford a lawyer, so these are free services. So I go there, and I did an interview, did a podcast with the lead legal person, the lawyer, and she was very nice. And I'm not gonna, you can listen to that on your own. I come outside, and I sit down. I got wireless, so I'm excited. And I sit down to use the wireless. Very cute girl across from me. And I'm trying to focus on social justice. And I think she started talking. I started talking to her, and she's got a stack of papers, and I wanted to, and I was like, oh, what's that? And she's like, oh, these, and she holds up a bunch of little classified ads. It looks like houses for sale, and she goes, this is my job. I have to go through all these. And I said, what is that? She goes, oh, these are houses that are being taken by the government, and this is how they announce it. And I said, houses, what? These are the houses of the people who got taken to other states, and they haven't touched the house, so it's considered abandoned. And I said, what? Still didn't make sense to me. Apparently, not apparently, it's fact, there was already a law in the state of Louisiana that said, in the case that a house is abandoned, okay, there's a lot of abandoned houses, right? It's hard to make a community with a lot of abandoned houses. It's a problem, so they have a law on the books, and now they're using it, that says, if your house is abandoned, obviously abandoned, you can see it, it's falling apart, the city government can come in, take it from you, from your name, and do what they want with it. They confiscate it. And I guess there was a practicality for this at some time, but it was before the storm, before the federal flood. Now what they do is, yes, if it looks abandoned, by law, they have to publish it 3 times in the newspaper. A little notice that reads, and the text was far too much, so I didn't paste it in. I do have a lot of these. Really long text, and it says your name, which is pretty embarrassing or odd. It says your name, located at your address. Your house is considered abandoned in big red writing under the law, la 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 la. If you do not do anything about it, like write to us, tell us where you are. Remember, most of them are somewhere else. Now, you could get this on the internet, but you really have to search. For the most part, it's the paper where people see this. But okay, you're not getting the newspaper. And it says, if you don't do anything about it, the city government is taking your property. And not only that, they have some way where they bill you for destroying the house, which is weird, because how do they have your address? And I said, so what do you do? And the girl says, I'm compiling a list, because we're keeping track of who's being completely, unfairly having their property taken. And she said, but there's not only that. Didn't you hear? If you don't mow your lawn, and if your shrubs look overgrown, that's also abandoned. And I said, no, that's just sloppy, And she goes, no, that's abandoned. And so I met an organization that one of the things they do is they go house to house and they mow the lawn and they trim the bushes of people who aren't there. I mean, that was actually a really positive thing, but it was a lot of work for them, not me. I should go back and really do the work. Maybe I will. And but the crazy part is, I think you guys are putting this together, but I'll explain anyway. Imagine you got moved because your house you can't live in it. And so you get pushed, you get that ticket to Houston. It's a few hours away, it takes a while. And you get a job and you have your house, and your old house is still all locked up. So you go and check on it. There are really people who hope one day to fix their house. So they go and I see them, they were coming in every now and then. You check on the house, you lock the doors, you lock the windows, but you can't afford to do the work. So you go back to Houston, and it's a long trip. So you're not coming home all the time. You're not coming home to mow the lawn and trim the bushes. So a lot of these people, in fact, are at risk. Their houses are being taken while they're away, unless they read the newspaper and see these little notices. I had to mention that for housing, but it relates to prisons now. I said, wow. And she said, hey, you came in with a card, didn't you? I'm talking a lot, huh? 40. you came in with a car, didn't you? And I said, yeah, I rented a car. And